When it comes to convicted criminals, a lot of people want to lock them up and throw away the key. But are they also throwing away the First Amendment? Free speech behind bars, that's today's topic.
This is Freedom Speaks with moderator Carrie Brock.
And hello again. A robber, a rapist, a murderer serving time in prison. Does that person have the same free speech rights as me and you? Well, courts say there are limits on that speech, but an inmate in the state of Washington is still getting his message out.
Paul Wright, soldier, college graduate, murderer. Paul Wright, prison inmate at the Washington State Reformatory, and publisher.
The first time I wanted to write something, or the first time my mail was censored, and essentially I've got the government telling me, no, you can't read this, that's when I began to value my First Amendment rights, and that is when I lost them.
Which is why Wright started a newsletter, Prison Legal News, which now has more than 2,000 subscribers nationwide.
I think that freedom of the press should apply equally to everyone, including prisoners. And the Supreme Court put it one way around 20 years ago when they said there's no iron curtain between the Constitution and prisons.
That's a bunch of hogwash.
In 1983, Dick Kress's 13-year-old son, Patrick, was beaten to death, and to this day, no one has been arrested for the murder. To deal with his grief, Kress formed an advocacy group called DOVE, Dignity of Victims Everywhere.
Once you're victimized, I like to think that the old you is gone forever. Will never, ever come back. The night that I found out that Patrick was murdered, the rage is just, it's beyond description. Lock them up, forget about them. When they serve their time, then turn them loose.
But Wright continues to get his publication delivered and has won legal battles to do so against state departments of corrections in Texas, Florida, and North Carolina. Now, with the help of the ACLU, Wright is challenging another prison in Washington state to deliver prison legal news.
It's easy for people to say that others should have less rights. I don't think that public policy should be driven by an individual's desire for revenge.
As Wright mentioned earlier, his freedom of speech is protected under the First Amendment, but the Supreme Court has ruled prisons can impose limits on that speech.
There are regulations against pornography. There are regulations on mail that prohibit individuals talking about harming someone else or making plans for escape.
Typically, the materials that are censored by prison officials are political and legal and religious materials that tend to be outside the mainstream or of minority views or opinion. The state is supposed to be looking out for the good of all citizens, and that includes both the victim as well as the perpetrator.
Paul Wright uses a lot of help from outside the prison also to publish Prison Legal News, which is seen in the United States and read in 27 countries. On our panel today to talk about this issue, we have first